Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with the final of the 2025 Collecta prehistoric releases and my personal most anticipated figure overall. We have the Phorusrhacos, and this figure looks awesome. When the first images had come out, I thought it looked pretty nice, but I wasn't quite prepared for how good it was going to look once I officially had it in hand, and I can tell you it looks so much nicer than even the original promo images had shown off. So bringing the figure in, and starting up here in the head sculpt, we can see the head sculpt is very nicely detailed throughout. It's got some gorgeous feather detail, maybe slightly muted when it comes to the feather detail here in the face, but I think it looks pretty good as a whole. There's also a nice light brown tone for the primary body color, and then we have a darker tone, kind of like a dark gray actually, there that sort of circles around the eye area, and then we've got a dark brown leading along the back as we have some feathers, kind of, larger feathers, almost like a crest of feathers moving along the back of the head, and they look pretty good. We also have a very kind of like red-orange tone for the beak, and I love the way that they've painted the beak. First of all, the beak has like that genuine sort of keratin look, which is really cool, but it also has so much nice fine detail to it and a really nice shine, exactly like you would see on the beak of a bird, so that looks great as well. We can see the nostrils sculpted out and highlighted with a darker tone, which looks really good. On the inside of the mouth, we can see the tongue in there painted with a pinkish tone, maybe slightly sloppy as far as the paintwork, but not too bad. We can make out the throat and everything back there as we move along, and then we also have the pink up there on the top of the inside of the mouth as well. We do have an articulated jaw, which is awesome, and the mouth, as you can see, closes perfectly once you actually close it. It closes so nicely, it's then almost hard to get the beak back down and reopen it. It's not something, there we go, we got it back open again. It's not something like with a dinosaur where the lower jaw is just so easy to grab. Once you close the mouth of this one, it's actually a little complicated to get that again back down, but not really complicated, just a little tricky. We can also see the ears sculpted out here on our Phorusrhacos. As we move along, we can see the eyes painted with a light yellow and a black pupil, and there's a nice gloss coat. Another instance of Collecta not just using the black color for the eyes, which I think looks really good. We do have a lighter tone here for the throat and underside of our figure, and I think that looks quite nice. The transition down is pretty smooth overall. As we continue to move down into the body, the feather detail becomes a lot more impressive, kind of picks up when it comes to the size. We still have the darker brown moving along the back of the figure following down through, and we can very clearly see once we reach the body, the feathers are pretty big. They're pretty much all over the place, but just generally quite large in size. Moving down here, we can see some gorgeous plumage here. We've got like a dark brown tone and then a light gray sort of dry brushed over it. Again, the dry brushing isn't perfection. It's definitely a little bit heavy in certain areas, but it does its job, basically what it's meant to. And we can actually see one digit right here with the nail sculpted out, it looks like. And for a better view of that, you can see over there, again, that same situation going on. No actual paintwork for the nail though. But as we move back up, we can see again the very scruffy, very emu-like feathering to our figure. We also see a little variation of color, and if you look back there behind those feathers leading off of the wing, we can see again a lighter tone in the stomach region. We see that lighter tone start to kind of pick up here and there as you lead through the leg. We've also got a nice sense of the muscle definition in both the thigh and calf. As you move down further though, we do return to a skin texture for the feet and legs, and we can see some variation of like orangish and darker browns for the legs, but again the dry brushing is back in this area. It's not perfect. Again, it looks a little bit sloppy as far as the way it's applied, kind of erratic as far as the way it's applied. Like it's not a perfect, nice, smooth application of the dry brushing. It's just kind of like hit or miss when it comes to the way it's applied. I think either they should have maybe just tried to apply it a little bit smoother and a little bit more consistently, or just not applied it, because I don't think it really benefits a lot from having the dry brushing. I think it would have looked just fine either way. But as we move down, the nice variations of brown I think look pretty good. We've got the toes sculpted out, you can see the nails sculpted out and painted with a dark grayish tone, and yes, we can see dew claws for the figure as well. And then we lead back up here and out into the tail. We can see the curve in the tail again as the tail actually leads down, and when you look at it from up above, you can get a really nice look at the actual actual plumage of the tail. It is a black coloration, and as we lead out, we have a white here for the tip of the tail, but you also see a little bit more of that white kind of dry brushed in. Again, the dry brushing techniques in general from Collecta this year haven't been the best. You can see that again right there. It doesn't look bad, it just could have looked a lot better. This side, though, I would say the arm actually looks a little bit more consistent as far as the dry brushing. Again, it looks pretty decent over here. But the figure overall isn't going to have a massive difference in the visual on this side because the figure basically is sculpted pretty straightforward. You can really see that here when we look at it from the front, so there's not like a massive turn in the neck, maybe a slight turn, but not enough to really make a very big obvious difference from one side to the other. The tail is curved down, so you're not going to see much of a difference in that area either. The biggest difference, of course, would be the positioning of the leg as it's walking along. This foot is basically planted onto the ground a little bit further forward than we see on the other one, whereas the other one you can see how the toes are kind of picking up off of the ground as it's taking a step and kind of walking along. But you can definitely take note to the lighter tone moving along the underside as well. So overall, that is gorgeous. Definitely my most anticipated figure, I would say, for the year, but when it comes to Collecta anyway, but definitely my favorite as well. As far as a size goes, I feel like it's a really nice size, not as big as their previous Kellenkin, that's for sure. For a length, you are looking at about 6 inches roughly, maybe slightly shorter, maybe even closer to 5 3/4 inches, but it's actually hard to really get a direct measurement there. Maybe we can get it that way. So yeah, actually I would say closer to 6 inches or around the 15 centimeter mark. For a height, I've kind of moved it over now, but you are looking at about 4.5 inches or just shy, or I would say just shy of 4.5 inches or just shy of 11.5 centimeters. Hopefully that wasn't confusing, but for a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collecta human being, next to our Collecta Phorusrhacos. And you can see it's got a pretty decent size to it, but it's not gigantic. It is a very nice, convenient size overall. And for another comparison to further show you that, there is the Kellenkin from Collecta. And we can see, obviously, the Kellenkin is quite a bit larger overall, so pretty impressive difference in size here, but two super cool figures. And when it comes to two pretty little feathered figures from the Collecta this year, here is the Gallimimus next to the Phorusrhacos, which we can see again. They're actually kind of similar in size. As well as the Microraptor here, stepping in for a comparison. Time for the Mercuryceratops to make another appearance with a comparison as well as the Metricanthosaurus, again another figure from Collecta that I absolutely love. The Nanuqsaurus, which I believe was from last year, which is also a lot smaller. And then, of course, the final figure is the Collecta Feathered T-Rex, pretty much something we've been doing almost the entire way through as far as comparisons go. And obviously, you can see that Feathered Rex is a good bit larger. Unfortunately, I do have one other Phorusrhacos in my collection, but it is like one of the ugliest versions of this species. Previously, I really quite enjoyed it just because it was the only one that I had, but it's not a very good figure, and it is the Wildlife WoW version, which is actually a lot larger than this. It's kind of like one of those squishy, softer figures. So, unfortunately, because it's not really that great of a figure, I've had it in storage now for quite a few years. I did film a review for it, actually, like years ago. Never posted it. It is actually uploaded and ready to go and has been for years, but I just never posted it. Now, I don't know if I ever will, because I can't imagine the review being very good in comparison to what I put out now, but we can obviously see again when we don't have any other figures that are of this species, and I really don't have many figures in general of, like, you know, terror birds and stuff like that to compare. We're basically just going with randoms, and definitely when it comes to Collecta, one of the figures that if you are a Collecta collector you most definitely have would be the T-Rex. So hopefully this helps you as far as the size goes. So this brand new 2025 Collecta Phorusrhacos is absolutely beautiful, and I would definitely say my favorite of the Collecta lineup for this year. It's just a species that I hold near and dear to my heart. Honestly, I've just always loved these type of birds. They're just so cool and so unique, and man, man, would it ever be neat to have been able to actually see these in person, though I would probably want to see it behind a fence. I don't know that I really want to meet up with it somewhere, but it's such a very cool, very unique, and very intimidating species, and it's so nice to finally have a good high-quality figure out for it. For some reason, these type of birds are often overlooked when it comes to figures, but as always, Collecta pulls through and gives us a really cool figure of it. Sculpt-wise, I think it looks great, lots of very impressive fine detail, and I love how great of a job they've done on the beak of this one, just kind of, making sure the beak stands out the way that it should, giving it a really cool coloration, definitely some nice flashiness with those red-orange tones that it has in the beak, but the appearance of, the keratin sort of look is so good on this figure. We also have the articulated jaw, which is absolutely epic. It works so nicely on the figure and looks great whether it's opened or closed, and as you move through the figure, again, the feather detail looks really good. The actual application of the paint is nice and natural. There's not a whole lot of variation of color to it, but there's enough that it looks realistic and lifelike. There's not a whole lot of flashiness to the figure either, but enough that it really does stand out, so that's also a plus. The dry brushing in a few areas isn't my favorite part about the figure, and I probably feel like it could have done better without it, except for maybe on the plumage there of the wings, but outside of that, like the dry brushing in the feet and everything, I feel like it probably would have been better without, but still doesn't look absolutely horrendous or anything. It's just that, that's not my favorite area of the figure. But overall, it is still a beautiful looking figure, and definitely one that I highly, highly recommend picking up. So if you are interested, just like with usual, if you want this, of course, keep checking back to Everything Dinosaur and DeJenkins and Mini Zoo and Happy Hen Toys and wherever you might buy your Collecta figures. Definitely check this out when it comes out. Absolutely pick it up, absolutely grab it and add it to your collection. And of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.